Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dalton Rutlinger, and welcome to the introduction episode of Let's Roleplay The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. In this episode, I will be talking about the mods that I have installed, the character that we will be playing as, and essentially detailing what role-playing actually is. Before I get into that, however, for anyone new, I want to point out that I do have a stutter. Alright, hopefully this doesn't become too much of an annoyance, but I do have a stutter. It's something I've had my entire life. I will probably be stuttering plenty of times throughout the entire series. In fact, I'll probably be doing it quite a bit in this first episode. Don't look too much into it. There's not really a lot I can do about it, so yeah. But anyway, with that out of the way, let's discuss what role-playing is. Role-playing is essentially whenever you try to live the life of the character you are playing. The character you're playing can be any character that you typically want to play as, but whenever you're playing as said character, you want to try and forget anything you can about the game. Alright, you want to try and play the game as if you were playing it for the very first time. Therefore, say, the character that I'm playing right now, they know next to nothing about Skyrim. Therefore, they don't really know much about the culture, they don't know much about the Nords themselves, and they don't really know much about the Civil War. Therefore, they are very, very neutral in terms of the whole Civil War aspect. This character is, for example, not very skilled with weapons because they have used magic most of their time. They were studying the arcane ways, and they've never really held a sword in their life. Therefore, they don't really know how to use weapons that much, aside from a bow and arrow. So that means that I will not be using swords, axes, warhammers, and stuff like that. Instead, I will be relying on the magical skills that I have available to me at the very beginning of the game, with the occasional shooting of the bow and arrow. The character that we are playing as is actually a continuation of the character that I tried doing in Oblivion a while back. The character is none other than Jessica Holland, who is actually a character from a book series I was writing a while back. I can talk more about the book series down in the comic section if anybody is interested, and I'll try and leave some links in the description box as well. But yeah, Jessica is actually a character from a book series I was writing. However, this Jessica is nowhere near the same as she is in the books. I just simply picked her because, well, why not? I didn't really get to finish her story with Oblivion, and since Skyrim is much more stable with mods than Oblivion could ever really possibly hope to be, I figured we could probably try and finish her story as much as we possibly could. So, the thing about Jessica is that she's actually the daughter of a noble family up in High Rock. Now, it's worth noting that I don't really know that much about High Rock society. I don't really know that much about... I'm not that well versed into the lore, I guess. I'm not very lore knowledgeable, so I don't really know if any of this stuff is actually stuff that happens in the Elder Scrolls lore, but for the sake of telling a story, this is what I'm going with. So, Jessica is the daughter of a noble family up in High Rock, and she is actually the runaway daughter of said family up in High Rock. The reason she's running away is because she is trying to escape a forced marriage. And the marriage that she is trying to escape is that of a very violent man that she ultimately has no interest in marrying at all whatsoever. In fact, if she ever sees him again, it would be way too soon. So, despite her constant pleading, despite her unwillingness to go through with this marriage, her parents saw an opportunity for them to make a lot more money by forcing their daughter to marry this other family's son. Jessica's family was... They weren't the richest, but they were still relatively high in High Rock society. Like, they were basically millionaires, but the family that she was going to be married to were basically billionaires in some respects, if that makes any sense. So they were hoping to gain assets from this other family for their own business purposes, and to potentially become much more wealthy in the process, even though it meant their daughter's happiness. So Jessica, who was not having any of this, she decides one night that she is going to gather up whatever she can and flee the country of High Rock, or flee the province of High Rock. And that's essentially what she does. She gathers what she can of her savings. She heads down to the docks, and she catches the first boat down to Cyrodiil, where she actually lands in Anvil. Once in Anvil, she manages to find a job. She saves up quite a bit, and over the course of a few months, she's able to make her way to the Imperial City, where she lives for 2 to 3 years, relatively undisturbed. She manages to start up a business. She manages to make a lot of friends. She even happens to come across a potential lover. However, as fate would have it, her parents managed to find, some mercenaries, rather, that her parents managed to hire, had found her in the Imperial City and were sending word to her parents that they knew where she was. Jessica was pretty much forced to flee. She didn't have a choice in the matter. She had to get out of the Imperial City as quickly as she possibly could, and she made her way up to Bruma. She knew next to nothing about the southern provinces, such as Valenwood and Elsewhere, and Black Marsh is completely alien to her. So there's only really one place for her to go. Morrowind has been destroyed because of the eruption of the Red Mountain, and Skyrim is really the only real province that she can go to. She knows not a lot about Skyrim, but she knows more about Skyrim than she does Valenwood and Elsewhere. So that's where she heads. She heads north up to Bruma. She tries to get the immigration forms. She tries to get the legal papers for her to legally cross into the border. But that's kind of where everything just goes to hell. She happens to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, because as she's crossing the border, an ambush happens on Ulfric Stormcloak, who just happened to be in the area. General Tullius and Ulfric Stormcloak just happened to be in the same area she was, and she was captured by the Imperials, thinking that she was a rebel of some description. So that is basically why she is in Skyrim now. And right now, they're basically just held at a fort waiting for the night to pass or something. So that is the story behind Jessica coming to Skyrim. Now I want to kind of talk about the mods that I have installed, or at least some of them anyway. A lot of the mods that I have installed are actually for immersion purposes, but I also have survival mods, I have combat mods, as well as just other random mods that I'm not going to get into too much. The main ones I want to talk about are Frostfall, Campfire, Wet and Cold, Realistic Needs and Diseases, Wildcat, and Ordinator, and some other mods will kind of come relevant in time. I'll try and kind of set aside a portion of certain videos to kind of talk about them. But Frostfall, or the mods I'm going to talk about right now are the survival mods such as Frostfall and Campfire. These two mods combined basically turn the harsh environment of Skyrim into being very, very hostile towards you. It basically means that if you go to a frozen area where it experiences like blizzards and ice storms and stuff like that on a regular basis and you're not dressed for it, you will die from hypothermia. You will die from freezing to death. So if you go up into, say, Winterhold and you're wearing like just standard iron armor with very, very little protection against the elements, you're going to die. There's no getting around it. You are going to die because it offers no protection against the elements. So whenever you're going up into colder regions, you want to dress as warm as you possibly can and carry around firewood with you. It's great for role-playing purposes. Realistic Needs and Diseases is a mod that forces you to eat and drink and sleep. So that kind of goes without saying. Wildcat is a combat mod that basically allows you to inflict massive injuries on your opponents, or vice versa. They can inflict massive injuries onto you if you're not careful. Injuries come in all shapes and sizes. You can have a damaged spine. You can have a caved-in head. You can have a broken arm, broken leg. Each of these injuries will affect your character in some way or another. It will basically mean that fighting becomes much more critical. You do not want to get hit if you can at all avoid it. And every injury that you take has a different effect on your character, basically. Like, you can have massive head traumas, like, say, if someone whacks you in the face with a giant hammer, you can start bleeding to death. Like, your health bar will just rapidly run out, and you'll just die from bleeding to death. You will die from that trauma. I've tried to make it to where our character is not the center of the universe. There's one mod I wanted to try, but it had so many conflicting mods that it just was not worth it. Even though it would have made the game a much bigger challenge. One fun one I have installed is Joy of Perspective. Which I guess apparently means that I get to find out what it's like to have boobs. So I've got a bunch of fun mods like this where it just gives you a body. It doesn't do much aside from, you just look down and you actually have a body. It's just kind of something that was missing, I guess. I have a lot of graphical mods, and you'll see a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about whenever I start the game, but for now, I think that's pretty much all I have. So thank you everybody so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video when we will begin the Let's Play officially. So I will see you then. Until then, guys, God bless, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye!